Yahoo Mina, 2025 is for many marketplaces the 30th anniversary of the awesome Sony PlayStation. But actually in Japan, the PlayStation's 30th was marked on December 3rd, 2024, as it came out in late 1994 in Japan. Reading PlayStation Tsushin from December 1994, father of the PlayStation, Ken Kutaragi, then director of Sony Computer Entertainment, offered a really clear insight into his vision for the console. He saw the PlayStation as an image synthesizer, something that brought together imagery, 3D models, audio, video, and interaction, a way of creating an experience unlike what games had perhaps offered to that point. To some extent, what he was describing is multimedia, but I do think there is a subtle nuance to what Kutaragi-san was explaining. I'll come back to this thought. Suzuki Bakuhatsu was released on July 6, 2000 by Enix before they were bought out by Square, and represents very clearly how experimental they could be as a publisher. Whilst at the time Enix was criticised by some, particularly outside of Japan, for Dragon Quest VII seeming like a bit of a throwback, even though it was a very good game, they were also releasing games like Suzuki Bakuhatsu from developer Soul. Soul had a pretty mediocre reputation, to say the least, though, but in this game, it seems something clicked, and it wasn't the sound of a bomb timer. The game's title literally means Suzuki Explosion, where you play as the eponymous Suzuki-san as she seems to stumble into ridiculous situations that lead her to a bomb that needs deactivating safely before it explodes. At the time, this was a fairly novel concept. Was this the first game to offer up such a fairly deep bomb disposal gameplay style? Well, as you know, as the bomb disposal idea came from this game's planner Koichi Yotsui's earlier work, Nostalgia 1907, which appeared on the X68000, Mega CD, PC-98 and the FM Towns. Outside of that, though, I'm not sure there is a similar preceding work, but even today the idea seems fresh and unusual, especially with this game's alluring offbeat presentation, humour and nuance. See, most people approaching this game would say this is a bomb deactivation game, so we need the main hero dressed in a flak jacket, wearing one of those microphone headsets and have them walk around the screen like John Wayne as they limber up to the bomb. That would make sense, right? What Soul decided to do was to hire a photographer, entrust some of the musical score to Fantastic Plastic Machine, or FPM as Tomoyuki Tanaka goes by these days, and then get the actor who plays Suzuki-san to bounce around your average urban Japanese river landscape on a pogo stick. It feels like the game is trying to lure me into either the existential crisis Suzuki is facing or diving me deep into a mental breakdown. And I love it for it. Just watch and listen to this clip. There are some of you right now who are shrugging us off with a bit of a, okay? And there are some of you who are taken back to how things felt at the end of the 90s and a turn of the millennium. This game somehow, to me, synthesizes that vibe. It's offbeat, kooky and mesmerizing, and it does this by using the PlayStation as an image synthesizer, just as Kutaragi-san suggested back in 1994, by combining photography arranged in a clever sideshow fashion, sound effects and incidental music, strange and often humorous messaging, special effects overlaid on the visuals, along with the general nightmare that Suzuki finds herself in, makes for a hypnotic vibe that makes you feel like listening to Future Sound of London and Satoshi Tomiie. It most certainly helps that this game was photographed by a team who knew what they were doing, and being as it was produced before digital photography became the norm, it has that kind of colour that oozes that subdued but contrasty look that Fujifilm stock often radiated. This game is a real trip because it latches into a fleeting moment in time, and for anyone who was there then, they will sense that in this game. Thankfully, there's a genuine game in here as well. Developers like ArtDink pushed the idea of the PlayStation as that image synthesizer much earlier with experiences like Aquanaut's Holiday, but the gameplay was a little lacking, making it more of an interactive experience. In Suzuki Bakuhatsu, you'll be presented with a couple of introductory bombs to defuse, and then the puzzles or bombs will be presented in a random fashion, and on each playthrough you'll encounter a different set of challenges. The humour is definitely in this game as well. At one point, Suzuki was shown laying in bed, complaining that she was thirsty. Natural thing to do then would be to get up and just go and get a glass of water, huh? But oh no, Suzuki decides to catch a ride to Narita Airport, fly to somewhere vaguely tropical, which I think is a hotel in Saipan, and order a Coca-Cola, only to find that there is a bomb inside of it. This is why I wonder if poor Suzuki is experiencing some kind of mental crisis. Or at one point find yourself on stage at a theatre in front of a tough audience who will praise you with, "We love you," should you fail to defuse a running engine on stage that is actually a bomb. It's pretty wacky stuff. And I also loved a bit when Suzuki was moaning she was hungry, only to move beyond a certain point in dismantling a bomb to hear her crunching away on a bag of potato chips. Each bomb has its own quirks and ways of defusing, which may involve the use of a screwdriver, spanner, snippers, tape, and even torpedoes, as well as generally using the magnifying glass to examine messages on the bombs, which are more often than not random nonsense or red herrings, but can sometimes help. As the complexity generally increases, not only will you have to unscrew things, but you'll have to become fast in doing so, as well as precise. Generally, the bombs are navigated around in 3D space denoted by the road sign symbols indicating which way you can move in and around the bomb, so you can't manipulate the bomb freely in 3D space like with the analog stick. In addition, as the difficulty increases, traps and certain contrivances can trigger the bomb or hasten the countdown. But luckily, you can retry as many times as you like. Each time you successfully defuse a bomb, you'll be graded on your performance. And of course, there is a time limit that will be triggered at the beginning or when you start working on a bomb. Within that, certain actions may trigger another countdown, and you'll have to remove all of the screws or nuts in that set time or you'll be toast. The countdown and the associated sound effects really up the ante, adding to the panic, as well as excellent use of the controller's vibration facility if you have it, and that can really up the sense of time ticking away and the fragility of it all. Having mentioned the sound design in Suzuki Bakuhatsu is excellent, tense and frustrating, and at times deliberately distracting and annoying, and also sometimes downright humorous and irreverent. One such hilarious occurrence was Gunda, a clear parody of a late 1970s mecha anime. I think you can probably work out which one, in which Suzuki finds herself battling the Gunda in a Janken or rock, paper, scissors battle, but in Street Fighter II style with life bars. Stupid stuff, which was a welcome relief to the intensity. Saisho wa gu, janken bon. You can save at given intervals, but you have to react quick as the highway sign will speed towards you, and you need to successfully push in the direction that the save and load option is in, otherwise you'll miss your opportunity. So now on to the rating. It should be really clear whether this game interests you or not. Personally, I found it so bizarre and I loved it for it, but once I got to the bombs and the puzzles, it really drew me in. For some people, if they don't like puzzles and find bizarre stuff like just why, then this game may not have the allure that this game clearly has where I am concerned. But for me, this game was a real trip. I really think this is a game that certain people know about and they love it, but it slips under the radar of most of the hidden gem video makers. But to me, this really is a great game, 4 stars out of 5. And I'll be honest, a big part of that score is because of the experience as well. Not just the game aspects, the sum of it all, if you will. It does help if you can read and understand Japanese, as it adds tons of personality to the game, but generally you can play this with no Japanese as the menus are all in English and you can get through on trial and error. I'll rate it as no Japanese required, but to get the most out of it, a conversational level understanding of Japanese is recommended, as it will help solve the problems as well as add humour to the proceedings. This game bravely went off in its own direction with a pretty original game idea and then packaged up in quite frankly weird shit, and it's all the better for it. It's bursting with kooky out there personality and doesn't apologise for it, and the gaming world needs games like this. Games that have rough edges, games that don't strive to be perfect like the curated Instagram gallery, or a person trying to run their entire existence through a perfectly executed social media marketing strategy that in the end renders them into Formica. They're bland and plastic. This is something that's a bit of a roughly cut diamond that says, you know what, pushing Mongo looks whack on a skateboard, but I'm going to do it anyway. Well, I don't push Mongo, that's just plain weird, but this game does something odd, and it does it confidently so. But don't mistake this game for being, oh ho ho, weird Japanese shit, oh, those wacky Japanese. Nah, that's just a lazy thing to say. This is a game and an experience that caps off an era in time on one of the most legendary games consoles ever conceived. Trippy, brilliant stuff. As always, like, subscribe and all of that shit, and also check out this rad Rubbish Heap merch, available worldwide on Redbubble and Amazon. See the links below for how to purchase. I've been Saki Endo, and this has been a Rubbish Heap. Ja ne ne!
よし、これな。先に押した方が爆発。
鈴木爆発。エニックス。